Okay, now we're recording. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the 21st San Francisco Doc Fest. We're so excited to have you all here for our program, She Dares to Defy, which is being presented online at the festival. The festival runs from June 1st through June 12th at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco, as well as online. Thank you so much to the filmmakers that joined us today. And thanks to our audience for checking out the films. I'm just going to kick it off by asking us to go around and introduce yourselves and say which film we're with. And we'll start off with Lexi.
Hi, I'm Lexi, and I'm with the film 7 Years, which is just a little experimental documentary short.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Which film are you with?
Yeah, my name is Rebecca. I'm with the film Transfemininity, which is a short documentary about gender identity and acceptation of yourself.
Thank you. Hi, Dominique. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dominique. I'm a filmmaker from Vancouver, Canada. I made Hair, a short animated about women or femme relationships with body hair.
Hi, Courtney. Can you just tell us your name and which film you're with?
Hi, I'm Courtney Dillon. I'm from Toronto, and I made No Girls Allowed.
Lovely, thank you. Hi, Wen.
Hi, I'm Wen from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I'm the director of The Boys Club. It's a short documentary about sexual harassment and workplace bullying.
Hi, Sarah. Can you give us your name and which film you're with?
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm with Direct Positive. I co-wrote the film with my partner, Kate Martin, and co-directed it with Kate and with Jess Ayala, who directed the interviews.
Thank you. Hi, Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly Murphy. I wrote, directed, and partially animated the film Dreamer of a Final Theory, which is about a physics theory and also just the search for understanding through life and the kind of acceptance of maybe not reaching that understanding in a lifetime.
Thank you. Hi, Anouk.
Hi, so I'm Anouk, and I'm the director of Nobody Owns Me, which is about the life of Irina, who is also there in the chat with Marty, and it's about them and the life that there is in the squad and the dreams.
Thanks. And hi, Irina. Hi, Martin.
Hello.
Which everybody just got the chance to see all of your beautiful films. So thank you so much, everybody, for introducing yourself. And to just kind of kick things off, we're going to start off by going around and just kind of talking about the genesis of your film. How did you find the story or become involved with the project? And, I think we're going to start off in reverse. So, Anouk, do you want to kind of kick off like how you found the story and became involved in this film?
Yeah, well, actually in France, there was like a national TV channel called Arte, and they made like a concours. I don't know how do you say concours, Irina? Like we had like a theme, and they were taking some films. Yeah, a competition. Thank you. So they will make a competition of the theme Need of No One. So in French it's like need of no one, but need of everyone. It's double sense. And I was knowing Irina since many years, and we are very good friends. And we also wanted to make a project since long time together. And so I was thinking, okay, it's maybe the moment, because she's like the theme that they want is connecting to her life. So I just called friends to make the film with me, like people who were having a very special sensitivity. And so they accepted, Irina accepted, Marty accepted, and everyone in the squad also accepted. And it's like this that we just began to do it. Like it was really on this teamwork, I think. We had really short time. So we had to be very organized. So in 1 week, I had found like the material, wrote the story, and the questions that I would ask and where I wanted the film to go. And
Great.
then we were just doing it.
That's so awesome. I love that, you're able to see the opportunity, seize on the story. And Irina, I feel like the film really does highlight you in so many ways, but for both you and Marty, what was it like inviting a Nook into your, lives, into your home with a camera, and kind of how was that for you when you agreed to join in?
Well, very shocking, actually. Because, like we speak about it with Anouk a lot. We are voiceless people. And suddenly I see that there is a lot of people who respond to it, who, if you are on the street and, or you're a prostitute or you're a drug addict, you don't really, there are people who want to get to know what it feels like, what is going on, but they're afraid to approach someone like that. And here it was both ways. It was that also we had a voice to talk, and also that people had a chance to see what it is from the inside there. And it was without any kind of trouble. Like, I think it was a good exchange.
Yeah. I love it. That's just the loveliest way to think about making art, when you have everybody that is on board and you both feel like you have a voice to express yourself. Thank you both so much for sharing. Sarah, could you please speak about your film?
Sure. So I'm a first-time filmmaker, and this film actually came about not really with us knowing that we were going to create a film. So normally I work in advertising as a creative director, and we had been doing some pro bono work for a women's leadership group where I live in Milwaukee to help. So they're obviously a very elite group of women, but they were trying to kind of share their stories with a broader group of people. They do so much mentorship, and we were doing kind of a pro bono rebranding for them to try to help make them more visible to the world and to the community in Milwaukee. And this actually kind of started out as the thought of doing an art installation. So we had reached out to Margaret Musa, a tintype artist in Milwaukee, to do portraits of the women, just to try to bring a really unfiltered, unretouched view of the beauty and the power of these women to the public. But as we started to reach out and hear all of their stories, we realized, wow, they have some really amazing stories to tell about, struggles that they ran up against in being accepted for who they are as women in leadership, and also, for not having to put themselves into, maybe typical boxes that leaders are seen within too. So we thought this was just such an amazing story that we pitched the idea of making it into a film. And I was really so pleased with how many people kind of jumped in to help us and got on board to try to bring this story to life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hi, Molly. You want to talk about your film? Your COVID safe production landscape?
Hi, yeah. So I made an animated documentary, and strangely, I guess, I was asked, it all sprang from being asked to make a short documentary about this physicist and Nobel laureate named Sten Weinberg. And it was part of this breakthrough prize competition. I pitched making a documentary about a different astrophysicist, and was asked to make about Steven Weinberg, who won their prize for that year. And he was this older man who's had like a pretty like vibrant career, largely in most known for being one of the co-discoverers of the standard theory. So what I did was I set up a bunch of Zoom calls with him and just started asking him a ton of questions. At first to just understand and wrap my head around what it was that he does. I do a lot of work with science, but it was like very heady and out of this world, kind of basically the theory of everything, just understanding how everything moves, why everything moves, different forces. Originally I was going to make a documentary where he narrated, and though it seemed like an inconvenience at the time, I wanted to turn him into an animated character, ultimately with the goal of kind of presenting his life's work in a way that was more accessible. He was a Princeton man. He had gone to all these kind of very elite institutions, and I wanted to pose the kind of thinking and work that he did as something that, well, this is something anyone can do. You don't have to be this kind of like tie wearing like suit person. But at the same time, originally I did want to make him accessible as a kind of cartoon character, but he was opposed to that. Which meant I had to completely reinvent the story, but ended up being a kind of great journey in the end. Because what I did was I created a woman character and animated her through different stages of life, from baby to young girl, adult, elderly woman. And used clips of things that had come out in these series of interviews with Steven Weinberg to narrate over. And so ultimately, it is a showcase of thoughts that he had, but through the life of, I think it became a bit of a self-portrait. The character has bangs too. So
Yeah, bangs.
yeah, animation and bangs.
No,
yeah,
it's super cool. I really think that there's almost like a subversiveness to the way that you overlay the animation on that text, because it is like looking to this next development, not just like within like theoretical spaces, but also within the sciences. So very cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. You want to talk a little bit about your film?
Yeah. So No Girls Allowed was a project that had already started and was put on a shelf. My producer, Eric Metzloff, it was his passion project. He's big into geek culture and really wanted to start this dialogue of sexism in geek culture. So he had done these interviews and didn't really know how to move forward with it and kind of put it on the shelf. He's coincidentally one of my favorite editors in the world. So we were working on a narrative project of mine and we were just clicking really well. And he was like, well, I have this thing that's, it's not done. And I've never done a documentary before. So I watched some of the interviews and I got really interested in what these women had to say. And there was this really amazing, story that kind of laid out. And I said, yeah, I'll jump on and we'll get this finished. And we did, I think, 2 more rounds of interviews after that first set to just bring more perspective in and to kind of get my voice in it as well, because I had these pieces and then I had to figure out how to make a whole story. So I needed more pieces. And it took us about 5 years from when he first started to when I jumped on to we cut it 6 or 7 times. And then we realized we needed more diversity. We needed more points of view. So then we talked to more people and then opened it and cut it again. So I think we have 15 or 16 versions of it. And finally we said enough is enough. And this is what you guys got to see. So it was a moving train that I jumped onto.
I love that. And that's something that's really I think rewarding about narrative arts, right? When you look at this like unscripted documentary observatory things, is that the story leaves a lot more room to re-edit and retell and bolster. So thank you so much. Hi Wen, thank you for joining us. Obviously you told a very personal and intimate story that I think highlights so much of what a lot of women go through when engaging in kind of a old boys style activities, which is funny because cinema, right? The first studio was started by a woman. Georges Méliès wasn't the first man to direct a narrative film. He and Alice Guy Blaché were directing narrative films at the exact same time. So it's something really important to think about when you're a woman trying to work in film, that it is not a boys' club. Before 1920, women were as represented as men within the industry. Anyways, that's my tirade. Sorry. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so I guess just to give some context, we don't really have a documentary culture in Malaysia. So what more, making a feature documentary. So the Boys Club is based on my experience making my debut feature documentary a few years ago. And so basically I made this documentary with a media organization, which is quite a big organization in Malaysia. And after the film was done, basically the entire production team was cut off from the film, and the company tried to control the narrative of what actually took place. So I guess the Boys Club is a creative response to stand up and fight for our work, and also to reclaim our voice, which they tried to silence. But more than that, Malaysia don't have a comprehensive or a survivor-centric sexual harassment law. The activists have been trying to pass this for more than 20 years. So with this film, we actually have an impact campaign to lobby for the law. Yeah.
Be sure to share any resources that you can after the screening. I'm happy to make sure that those are shared around because it's such important work. Thank you. Lexi, another very personal, intimate story in your film. I think when we think about concepts of motherhood, you don't think about other sides of it. And so being able to share something as personal as grief through an experimental lens, I found to be very moving. Thank you so much for sharing.
Very kind of you. Yeah. I feel very, I can relate to a lot of you with just having a project that kind of evolved along the way. And so I have like mixed background in both writing and in video journalism. And when about 8 years ago, I had a child who passed away. And when I was working for NBC a few years ago, they asked if I would start filming my subsequent pregnancy with my daughter and just kind of like documenting that. And so I kind of started as this kind of more pure documentary. And I went through this process for like 3 years. And every time, like every round of edits, it was not right. And it wasn't, I didn't really tell the story of the grief that you feel and the weirdness that you feel of having another child after another one dies, which I think is, it's a very niche experience, but I think it's a more universal experience that a lot of us have even felt over the last several years. Just the like weird feeling of grief and what to do with that. And so I threw out my 12-minute edit and I just decided to do like a weird little hybrid of trying to show what grief feels like rather than tell. And that's what came of it. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us. Your film blew me away, I think, in the way that you're able to show varying perspectives on a same theme, and the transitions were really moving and I think indicative of what you're saying with trans femininity. So can you speak a little bit about the genesis of your film? And
Sure. So originally, I was supposed to make a film, a 1-minute film for a competition. The theme was women's empowerment, and I had decided to conduct interviews to be able to have answers from trans women who would complete the sentence "if I were a man." And although this film was not selected, there was another competition, which is actually the same as Anouk in France. Hi, Anouk. And so I went back to the interviews because although I needed a one minute edit in the original competition, I had conducted between 30 to 45 minutes was each of my characters. And when I went back to the interviews, I got chills when I was watching one of these three characters who was saying that the most violent thing for them still today is to hear what is a successful transition. And that means that for society today, being accepted as a trans woman is to look like, you know, what beauty standards are labeled by, you know, society cliches and stereotypes. And when she mentioned that, we realized that the physical discrimination that they were suffering from would actually apply to a lot of other minorities. You know, women as a whole, the Black communities, sexual discriminations, and that just, you know, moved me a lot. And so I decided to tell the stories of these three women. So it's basically a film that tells the story of what it means to accept yourself, to be able to be accepted by others through the prism of three transgender women at different stage of their lives. And that's what was really interesting, is that they're so different, you know, such different backgrounds. And also there was along the way, I realized there was a misconception about gender identity and sexual orientation. And so, you know, for example, these three women, there are three transgender women, and yet one is heterosexual, one is bisexual, one is a lesbian, you know, so, and there's a lot of conversation around this. So it's mainly something to say that accepting yourself is the first step to the way of reconciling everyone, because if you accept yourself the way you are, then most likely others will. That's what I hope, at least.
thank you so much for sharing. I think there's a beautiful kind of arc in a lot of the films here about the importance of intersectionality and identity, which I was really drawn to, which allows us to close out with Dominique, who I feel like your film kind of sums up so many of these things in a very adorable way, kind of looking at one aspect of feminine identity that, like, do we ever really think about the plucking, the grooming, the hair? So can you see, also your room kind of matches the color palette of your film, which I'm really loving that vibe. So thank you. Hi, Dominique.
Hi, thank you so much. That is such a thoughtful response to the film, and I really appreciate it. Hair was a project I actually started back in 2009 when I got a little bit of funding, and I leapt forward. And really at that age, I was just out of film school, and the only thing I knew about was myself, not even very well at that, but I knew I had an issue with my body hair. And so I wanted to find out how other people felt about it, and if it was just me, which I'm like, of course it's not just me. But yeah, I think, yeah, from there I had these interviews and I sat on them for almost a decade because I had the interviews, but I didn't know what to do visually with it. And it was after working in television, in factual and unscripted television for a long time as an editor, and then getting a break and working at an animation studio for a little bit, that I figured, okay, what's accessible to me? I'm not a camera operator. I don't have a grand vision, but I can do stop motion animation. It's super accessible. And yeah, and so I finished the project. To me, I think what still resonates with me the most about it, even though these interviews are old, is like the comments in them are still things I hear today from people. It's a choice, but it's not a choice that happens in a vacuum, whether we like how we groom ourselves. And so, yeah, I wanted to present something showing people the conflict that they might like themselves feel about different aspects of beauty and expectations.
Awesome. I love it. It's so cute. And I think that you made the most out of your resources, but your stop motion is so meticulous that don't discount yourself. You are a cam op and animator. Well, that is all the time we have for our Q&A today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and a huge thank you again to our audience for coming out for the 21st SF Doc Fest. Very, very appreciative. Thank you for sharing our stories, and check out more of the festival. Thank you.
Thank you very much.